Welcome to Living a Healthy, Vibing Life podcast. I'm your host, Harold Chatman. At the current moment, we're not taking any sponsors, but if you wish to support me, visit our website, hvlworld.net. We have the best flavor collagen. We have unflavored peach mango and our newest flavor, strawberry lemonade. If you struggle with skin hydration, if you need a new supplement routine, check us out. At the current moment, we're at the Panoramic Brand Studio, best podcast studio in Houston. All right, we have a special guest with us, a yoga educator, 10 years of teaching yoga, founder of the Non-Performative Yoga School EI, embodiment coach, Abiola Akanni. All right, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Girl, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling real good. I'm chill.
You are the second female I got on here, so I'm excited about that.
That's what I've heard.
Yep.
That's what I've heard. I'm breaking y'all in.
You show it? Hey, I break us all in. We need to get some more females on here. So a little bit of backstory before we get started, how I was able to get her on here, because it's hard for me to get females on here. So I was referred to her through a friend, and so we connected on Instagram, and I looked at her content. I was like, oh, man, this looked pretty like some good yoga, some peace, some clarity. And she not just only just teaches the courses, but she helped people get into yoga through her non-performative school. And I thought it was really cool because it's like a lot of people struggle with mental health. A lot of people struggle with anxiety. People don't know how to take a break from social media. And I feel like, as Black and brown, we definitely need more people that she can connect with on that space more than just going to a therapist. And she's an embodiment coach. So we're going to definitely get details into that, how she can help you and also serve the world.
Yes, sir.
So my first question is to you is, how did you get into yoga?
I got into yoga, about 10 years ago, and ultimately what guided me to my practice was my own lived experience and navigating through my own body. But more specifically, I had some substance abuse situations that kind of led me to my practice. I've always been athletic. I was an athlete in high school. I ran track for several years, and I played women's rugby in college. And I ended up getting in a really bad car accident that, left my body unable to perform at the way that I was used to. And this was in college. And I also got a lot of prescription drugs, a lot of opioid medications to kind of guide my body through that I ended up abusing. At the time, my roommate suggested I try yoga. Just to really help me with my body because I could not run. I couldn't do anything physical because my scoliosis was exacerbated by the accident.
Oh, wow.
So I went to yoga just thinking I was going to get this very physical practice and ended up leaving with so much more. I initially went for the physicality of it. I loved the sweat. Obviously, I was going during the height of something called Bikram yoga, which was a 90-minute set sequence. Bikram has since then been banished from the yoga industry, but I'm very thankful for that sequence. But I went to a traditional Bikram yoga where it's heated 115 degrees, it's hot, you're sweating, and I love that. It was really exhilarating, but what kept me going back was just the deeper emotional regulation I was able to cultivate. I was able to understand a little bit more about my thoughts and how they cultivated the emotions that I was experiencing and how those emotions then had physical manifestations in my body. And it helped me sustain my sobriety and move through my substance abuse. So it ended up becoming something completely different and unexpected, but that's ultimately what brought me to the practice.
Oh, wow. So I'm guessing from there you started, I guess you got a connection with it then, and then you just pretty much kept going with it. I guess you found a breakthrough with it, found some peace, this ain't too bad.
For sure. Like I said, it just continued to expand just my awareness of my own mental and emotional body beyond the physical, beyond what I understood as my own identity, and it helped me navigate through a lot of the trauma that I was experiencing, a lot of the trauma that was leading me to abuse a lot of substances and to abuse things like that. It gave me the tools to kind of sit with those emotions and navigate through that trauma, which then empowered me to live beyond it and get on the other side of it. And that's continued to guide my practice, understanding my high functioning anxiety. I was able to start to cultivate a meditation practice and sit with my emotions as opposed to just running from them or bypassing my emotions. I was able to cultivate different relationships with people, cultivate better relationships with people because I was able to hold better space for myself. It just really changed my life. It opened me up to aspect of myself that I didn't even know was available, because there was a lot of numbing that I was doing with the substances at the time,
Right.
and I was deeply insecure. And it kind of opened me up like to this part of myself that I had never seen, that I had never been given access to or been guided to, and that really empowered me to see a lot more possibilities in my future that I hadn't before.
Right. So where are you like naturally from?
My
Natively.
family is from Nigeria, so you mentioned my yoga school. My family's from Nigeria, although I'm first generation, so I was born in the States. But growing up in a Nigerian household has its challenges, and so Nigerian parents, being in Houston, y'all know there's a lot of Nigerians here. It's like Little Lagos. And so growing up with Nigerian parents was not the easiest, but I'm very thankful for my parents and my family. But my online yoga school that I founded is called Iya, and that means mother in Yoruba, and it's ultimately a place for folks to remother their bodies for deep nervous system regulation, particularly communities of color, because we really need space to move through that, because a lot of us are operating in survival mode and don't know it. And are needing the practices to guide us through that back to our rest and digest center. So that's what the yoga school focuses on and certifies people in.
That's pretty cool. I think that's really amazing how deeply you go into yoga, especially I was looking at your page, and how not just go through the poses, like you basically put in descriptions like how is it helping you, rather than just going through like peace and calmness. I think everybody knows that about yoga. But you go in deeply how it like connects with the mind, the body, and as I know we was talking about earlier how I forgot what you said, but talking about deep, like this is how deep it's connected. That's how I mainly looked at yoga. But I was looking at your page, I was like, oh, it's more to it than just peace and clarity.
Oh, for sure. I think that's what made me cultivate a yoga school rooted in something called non-performative yoga. I created that term because the yoga that's perpetuated in mainstream media is very performative. What I mean by that, it's performative because it only focuses on the physical asana. Asana is basically the Sanskrit term for the physical yoga posture. So when you think of yoga, the way it's showcased in mainstream society, you see the poses, and you see very ambiguous terms like peace and clarity, but nobody really knows what that means in their own bodies, and they don't really understand what the poses mean in their bodies. And so when you are just only focusing on the performative aspects of yoga, being the poses, which is just one of the 8 limbs. There's 8 limbs in yoga, and each of them are packed with so much education and wisdom on how to navigate through the body and cultivate a greater well-being through mindfulness. Asana, or the yoga poses, is just one of the 8 limbs. And so if that is your only entry point to yoga, then it's going to be really challenging to kind of dive into all of the other benefits, because the physical body is just one aspect of the body. You have your mental body, you have your emotional body, and usually what you feel in your physical body is the final manifestation of what you actually are experiencing in your emotional and mental body first. So I wanted to cultivate a yoga school that educated folks on the practice beyond just the poses. That's why it's non-performative. We are teaching physical asana or physical poses. However, we're also providing education on the lineage and history and origins of yoga and the deep education of yoga, in terms of regulating the nervous system, so that folks have applicable tools to begin to move from survival mode or move out of survival mode to a state of thriving. In Black and brown communities, we talk a lot about self-care, we talk a lot about self-love, but there's a disconnect of what are the actual practices to get me there.
That's true.
And so non-performative yoga, what I teach and what I also teach as an embodiment coach, are those emotional regulation tools through the practice of yoga beyond the poses in an applicable way, so that folks can use those tools when they're triggered, or to navigate from being in their fight or flight, navigate through their anxiety, or when they're feeling stressed. How do I begin to actualize these tools in my day-to-day life? Because I'm not always going to want to do those damn postures.
Right. So what would you say one of some top things that separate you from from the general standard like yoga? Like, because I know most people come to you because you teach other educators to get into yoga.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes, if they already have a certification in yoga, so what else are you bringing to them to set them apart from an average yoga instructor?
Yeah, for sure. That's a good question. So within my non-performative yoga school, EA, so we do have our 200-hour yoga certification, but maybe we do get instructors who are already certified, and
Right.
we teach them something called the non-performative yoga elements, which are specific elements that we've cultivated to kind of help them teach from a non-performative lens. And what that means is just teach so they have more of an expanded understanding of the practice of yoga beyond the posture. So they're cueing from a more inclusive, trauma-sensitive place. So they're utilizing something called intuitive asana. So when they are teaching the physical poses, really teaching it from more of an intuitive place with an understanding of anatomy from a deep background, from a background of kinesthesiology, so that folks who can barely get off of the ground can do the poses. A lot of the times with yoga instructors, when they get their 200-hour, they might just be like getting it from a power studio, and they might say, I'm going to teach an all levels class. But it's not necessarily all levels, because not everyone can do those poses. So we also teach something called energetic anatomy. We hear about regular anatomy, the physical body, but energetic anatomy is the study of the subtle body, the chakras, the nadis, the lines of energy that move through the body. People don't know those things, but once again, your mental and your emotional body are the first places that we want to begin to navigate through, because the physical manifestations, the tightness, the lack of mobility, or any illness or dis-ease you're feeling in your physical form has first manifested in your mental and your emotional body first.
True. Yep.
So we need to look at energetic anatomy. We teach instructors energetic anatomy. So those are some of the things that really set us apart. I would say energetic anatomy, nervous system regulation education. So we educate a lot of our 200-hour certified instructors and or instructors who are already certified outside of our school about nervous system regulation. What does that mean? What is the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system? And what happens when I'm in my sympathetic nervous system, this fight or flight phase, and why am I in it? Versus how do I navigate or use yoga to navigate towards my parasympathetic nervous system, which is my rest and digest center, which I can actually rest in my body, my muscles physically release and stop contracting as much, and my body actually is slowed down enough to actually digest, right? So we teach them nervous system regulation, we teach them energetic anatomy, we teach them something called intuitive asana. I actually offer an intuitive asana for the chakras, a sequencing program for folks who are already certified to learn how to use intuitive asana to sequence their yoga classes for beginners to advanced. So our sequencing infrastructure is a little bit different from maybe the sequencing infrastructure that they've already gotten from their 200-hour program. We teach it so that instead of, when they look at a pose, look at what's being mobilized and what's being stabilized in the body, and then break that down through smaller poses so that you can build your students up to a larger pose. So let's say the pose they want to teach a class around is splits.
Right.
What is being mobilized in the body in splits? The hamstrings, right? So the hamstrings and the psoas. For those who don't know, the hamstrings are located on the back of the legs. The psoas are located on the front of the hips. So those things need to be open. So what are very smaller poses that someone who can't even stand on their knees can do to do that.
Right.
So maybe we're starting on the back with a strap, and have the foot up in the air with the strap to open up the hamstring. So that's what we teach. How do you break it down and build intuitively so that you can really set someone who's a novice at yoga, who can set them up for success? And communities of color need that, because we're drawn away from our mat, or drawn away from the yoga mat, because we don't see enough of ourselves. We see these incredibly performative postures in mainstream media being done by freaking acrobats or something, like these like white women who are real thin, and they've cultivated a lot of discipline, so I don't to do those poses, so I don't want to negate that, but also like making sure that if I'm teaching a yoga class to my community of black and brown community members, and they have no idea what yoga is, I want to set them up for success so they don't feel like, I can't do this.
Right.
So that they're drawn to come back to their mat. Oftentimes we're not doing that. We're doing ourselves a disservice because we're not breaking it down for novices, for our community to really be able to practice and feel like they successfully went through a class.
Right.
So those are the things that set us apart. In addition to providing the 8 limbs of yoga, but from personal development and leadership standards. So instead of teaching about the 8 limbs of yoga, teaching about contentment, or teaching savadhyaya, all these big terms from a very ethereal standard, we teach them based on leadership and personal development. So they're really easy for our teachers and and teachers who are certified outside of our school to easily adopt into their everyday life, and then be able to offer that to a student. Because right now, people don't know about a lot of those yoga terms, and when they do, it seems like it's like, I don't know what that means in my regular day-to-day life. How am I going to use savadhyaya for my regular day-to-day life? It just seems so woo-woo, so kind of out there.
Right.
So we bring it home by utilizing the 8 limbs of yoga and yoga philosophy from a leadership and a personal development standard. So always folding it back to modern day times.
Mm-hmm. What would you say to a person that struggle with being still, but they want to get into yoga, but they just really struggle with just being still, like ADHD or ADD, like they just struggle with just being still, but they want to get into yoga? Mm-hmm. How can a person, like what kind of advice would you give to a person for that?
The best thing I would say for folks, because I work with a lot of clients who have high functioning anxiety and ADHD.
They can't be still.
Yeah.
Doing this.
There's 2 things.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Can't be still.
Yeah, for sure. I have some family members who are ADHD as well, so I definitely know. Folks who are ADHD or who are constantly, it's hard for them to sit still, you definitely want to start with an asana practice for them. So a physical yoga practice to get them in their body. I don't know, why is that funny?
Because it's just funny, because I know so many people just like that. They just can't be still, or always twitching. And I think because some people, they take so much coffee, and it's just really hard for them. Like they like, how you sit there and just do yoga? I don't know. I look at the benefits. But it's just funny seeing people, not laughing at you, but laughing at like when people try to do it. I can't do this shit. I can't sit here for like no 10 minutes straight.
Well, that's why you don't have them do a meditation practice first, where they're just sitting, because you're not setting them up for success with that. They're already in such like a fight or flight state, and so to ask them to sit is like a trauma response. So you really, it's like, I want to run from my body. I'm running throughout my day, so now you want me to sit here. And then neurologically, someone who has ADHD, it's like there's stuff happening within their brain, the way they're processing. So sitting for long periods of time, it exhibits a lot of anxiety for them. Yeah. So what we want to do is get them on the mat, but not like, I wouldn't have them start with a meditation or a pranayama. I would start them in a physical asana practice that gets them the opportunity to move as much as they want. So I would start them with a hatha practice or a vinyasa practice that allows them to move, to help them cultivate more embodiment. So embodiment being like literally being your body. Like when folks are experiencing high functioning anxiety or ADHD, they're disassociating, so they're not often in their actual body. They're like doing a lot of things to run from their body,
right,
to like not be emotionally present. And yoga asana, the physical poses, is a really great way for them to do that, because they don't have to stop and think about things, but they're like moving, still moving,
right,
but from more of an embodied space, as opposed to moving throughout life from a disassociating space. So I would start them off with a gentle yoga practice that kind of lets them move in their body in a way that brings them home in their body.
right.
Yeah.
That's pretty deep, especially like when you broke that down, like how they not in their body, they just high function, is trying to get them to be present there, like to start them off. I feel like that's pretty big to teach a yoga, because I know you teach people that's trying to get into yoga. I feel like that's like a big one, because it's easy to teach people that want to do it, but I feel like it really counts when you're trying to teach people something when they want to do it, but it's like mentally, like physically, it's hard for them.
Yeah, they're struggling.
Yeah.
And that's why we focus on non-performative yoga. I think taking into account that most, if not all of us, are navigating through some level of trauma, and really keeping that in mind, at the forefront of mind, is what we do within my yoga school. Because people want to, but it's like there's like a roadblock. So really helping them navigate through that roadblock with some compassion,
What do you like when people that get into yoga, what is like the most common reasons people get into yoga, other like based out, like women wise, like
folks say to get more physically fit, or to be more in their physical body. But once I start to work with students, it's usually for something related to mental and emotional. A lot of women of color are, guided towards or attracted to yoga because we're looking for like deep rest. Like,
Right.
I want to be able to slow down and be restful in my body, and I don't know where else to turn to find that. So it's usually for a lot of like mental and emotional reasons, like deep rest, self-care, an opportunity to slow down.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, an opportunity to slow
We
down.
live in a fast-paced life right now.
Yeah, and just to be, not to
Present.
be, to be present, to have more mental clarity. So it's a lot of, to move through my anxiety. So it's or to go through a breakup, or to release some grief. So a lot of mental and emotional reasons are kind of the reasons that guide folks onto their mat. They might say, more of the things that I hear in the physical is more objections. Like, I can't do yoga for physical reasons.
Yeah.
And the reasons that they want to are for more mental and emotional reasons.
Right. Yeah, that's yeah. I did yoga for a little bit. I didn't stick with it, but I did it mainly for the stretching. Like, I would say, like, for the most part, I would say I'm pretty connected with myself. I know how to shut my phone off when it's time to get away from it, because I feel like this thing it's like the silent killer for people. It's like people live and die by validation, and it's like I don't know. I feel like more people need to be more be your own like cheerleader. Like, don't look for validation from your phone or other people. Just mainly just stay in your lane and mind your business. That's the best thing I could.
I think in an ideal world, we all say that, but people don't know that actually takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of practice to do that, to cultivate that sense of self-security and self-trust, because most people don't all really feel safe in their own bodies. So it can be challenging to actually self-validate, because like you have to have a level of security and self-trust where you trust yourself enough to give yourself that validation and believe it. And so, like, we say a lot of ambiguous things, but we don't really discern that it takes practice. Like, you need tools to practice those things. And that's why I feel like yoga is a really beautiful place to start, because it just lays out the tools, and the tools have done miraculous work for centuries, like for centuries, you know. And I know people look at it as like a spiritual practice. Obviously, it can be spiritual if you want to take it there, but for just the general public, it provides a really approachable way to be in your own body.
Right. So what is like your daily routine? Like how often do you do yoga?
So I don't do physical asana every single day at all, but I meditate and I do pranayama daily.
Okay.
Pranayama is basically breath work, and I use breath work to help me regulate my nervous system because I actually suffer from high functioning anxiety. So if I'm not paying attention to doing breath meditation, I'll be like a ball at the end of the day. My muscles are so tight and contracted. My shoulders are up here, and everything's so tight. And so my daily routine, I get up. The first thing I do is I meditate and I pray. So I always do a prayer, and then I'll do my meditation. And that'll be just a loving kindness meditation where I'm just sitting with my thoughts and observing them without identifying with them. Or it might be like a pranayama meditation where it's like a breath meditation, which literally physically helps my body relax.
Yep, it does.
Because we don't really notice how we breathe, and your breath is connected to your nervous system. So the more that you can intentionally breathe, the more you can allow your muscles to release and stop contracting. So I'll start with that. I'll chug about 24 ounces of water. It's always by my bed. I chug that every day. And then I have to have a bowel movement. My day does not start until I have a bowel movement.
You better. Sure. If you have a bowel movement once every 3 days, you in trouble.
And then for sure, I need to have my bowel movements. Like if I don't have a bowel movement,
you're in trouble.
I feel like I get angry. I get upset. But from there, then I go to the gym. I train pretty regularly.
Also, you do a good amount of weightlifting?
I do. I started training actually for my scoliosis. And this is why the yoga that I teach doesn't only focus on mobility. It focuses on stability as well, because when I was working in corporate America, years ago, I had really bad sciatica. I developed really bad muscular sciatica, and that was exacerbated because of my scoliosis, but also because I was hyper flexible. I was practicing yoga 7 days a week, hot yoga at that, which can, in excess is not always the best. And my chiropractor was like, I think you should stop going to yoga and do more weight training because you're so hypermobile that your muscles are not stabilized or strong enough to really support your spine the way it needs to. So I started weight training, I want to say in 2016, and it just supported my back tremendously. I went from going to the chiropractor almost, I want to say 2 to 3 times a week to, once a month. So
that's a big improvement.
Yeah. So the yoga I teach is not always about just mobility. It's about, you need stability as well. You need the muscles to also be strong and developed. So you want both of them. So I started weight training. I'll do my weight training. After I do that morning routine, I'll hit the gym, lift something heavy, and I'll come back home, get myself ready for the day, have a nice break my fast, get some coffee, and then I'm off to the races working.
So what does your eating habits look like on a day-to-day?
I eat very clean. It's not like something that I need to discipline myself with as much. The more I started practicing, I still eat meat and everything, but I just naturally started to desire certain foods because if I don't, I can feel. First, it affects my bowel movements, and I'm not playing with those. I literally get angry if I don't have a bowel movement. And then also, I just started to notice what feels nourishing. I'll say, my body ate that. Like, I can tell when my body eats, like I eat something, but then it eats it too. And I can tell when I eat something and it doesn't eat it. It just kind of stays there and it doesn't really move. And so because I'm so aware of that, that's
pretty cool to be aware of that.
It just made it.
That shows how present you are and connected with your body.
Yeah. It was a practice over time.
I'm sure. Yep.
but I eat pretty clean. Yeah, my Achilles heel is sweets.
Sweets.
I love cupcakes, and I
Oh,
love
damn.
I love lemon
Oh,
tarts.
damn.
I love lemon tarts, and I just have the biggest sweet tooth because growing up, you know, with Nigerian parents, we didn't have a lot of sweets. There's not a lot of sweets in
stiff on y'all,
Nigeria.
huh?
Well, there's just no sweets in Nigeria. Nigeria doesn't have a lot of candy and desserts. It doesn't have sweets in the country, you know, and growing up, my parents, we ate all Nigerian food. We had Nigerian food day and night, and so we didn't have a lot of like American sweets. So I love me some desserts.
Sweets.
I love me some
It's good to have a
desserts.
balance. There's nothing wrong with having a balance, as long as you have it in moderation.
I'll fuck some sweets up.
Oh, boy.
I'll really fuck them up. But yeah, so I eat pretty clean. Definitely need to watch my alcohol intake right now. I'm doing 75 hard.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
That's pretty rough.
Yeah, and it's been when I can decide, knowing that I have had substance abuse, I have to be really disciplined with myself because I can kind of go overboard, and I know that about myself. So
Kind of like a trigger for you a little bit.
yeah, so it's good for me when I decide to cut it off. I just go with that. It's challenging for me to do the dabble because it's like I can't really cut myself off. Like I can't just have one glass of wine or one cocktail. It doesn't really work for me.
Right.
I'm just going to go get really gluttonous, and I know that just because I've struggled with substance abuse for a while.
Right.
So it's kind of good. It feels like I don't have to think about it with 75 hard. I don't have to think about even like kind of trying to tether myself to like, I'll just have one drink. Like it's nice to not have to think about it and just cut it completely, because I don't want to try to do that to my mind, because I'll trick myself into believing I can.
Right.
So then after I do my work, I work from home. Obviously I have my little yoga filming studio in my house with my in my house, and then on the phone with clients doing admin. I might break for a walk and then for lunch, and then I'm kind of going till the evening, you know. Right. I'll have my little evening walk, or I'll do my evening meditation, and then it's just kind of chilling with my cousin. We live together, and just chilling and chatting, having dinner.
Right. So I got a question for you. So I noticed, I don't know how accurate this is. I noticed you was doing like a handstand, right? I don't know. I want to know how to do that without hurting myself.
Yeah.
How do I start?
A headstand or a handstand?
I don't know. Use on your hands, on your forearm. I was like, that's
okay,
cool.
so that's Pinchamayurasana, which is forearm balance.
Oh, forearm balance.
So where I'm on my forearms.
Right.
And when you think about going upside down, when you're thinking of inversion, you got to think about your belly.
Oh, boy.
You got to think about, like,
core.
what is my core doing? Because it's basically stabilizing me.
Mm-hmm.
And my shoulders. Your shoulders got to be real open in order for you to like support doing any type of inversion, any type of forearm balance or handstand. So some of the best ways I like to prepare my students before we go upside down is shoulder mobility.
Okay.
Because that's a lot of pressure on your shoulders, and if they're tight and you're up here, you're going to fall.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first thing that's going to buckle. Your shoulders are going to buckle, and then your belly's going to buckle, and you're going to fall over.
You're going down.
So you really want to focus on shoulder mobility, certain poses to get the shoulders open, and then you want to work your way, well, down, but up, because you're turned upside down. So you want to then focus on the core, things to stabilize your belly and almost like draw the rib cage in, which is creating a bandha. A bandha is a Sanskrit term that means root, like a lock, a bandha. So you want to kind of lock your belly. There's a few different type of bandhas. There's a root bandha or a root lock through your root chakra. There's Uddiyana bandha, which is through the belly. And so you want to create a lock, like where that belly is like firm. You're drawing your ribs in. You ain't moving.
Right.
And then naturally that kind of ricochets through your inner thighs.
Right.
Turns on your inner thighs and like suctions them together so they're one leg. If your legs are limp, you're gonna fall.
So basically I have them like together.
Well, they don't have to be touching together, but if you have that bandha, it'll naturally like stabilize your inner thighs and draw them towards one another. They don't have to be touching perfectly. But it just basically like stabilizes your legs, because if they're moving too much and you're going down. Some folks, when they start to like, when they have their shoulders open and they have that bond of that lock through their core, they can like play with their legs and things like that. But they've probably been practicing a long time to be able to do that. But I will start with opening them shoulders and then get that core engaged.
How long do you usually stay in that position for, like when you do it with your students?
I'll do it for a few rounds of breath. Coming in and out, and certain types of yoga, like Ashtanga yoga, which is a really highly disciplined style of yoga, they might stay in it for even longer. So it just depends on your practice, but a few rounds of breath.
So another question I have, so what are you personally, like, looking at yourself, what make you like passionately like so good at what you do, like based off like your personality?
Can you say that again?
So what makes you like so good at what you do? Like give you an example, like connecting, or just like you just passionate about yoga, or you just know how to, you just have solutions to people problems, like basically like what makes you so good at it?
Yeah, what makes me good at what I do, because I practice it. Because it's not like a novelty to me. Like sometimes I feel like there's yoga instructors out there and the yoga is like a novelty, like look at this little Buddha statue I have, like that's in my house, that like tells everyone I'm this type of person, right. Look, or this it's not a novelty for me. I need it to support me moving through my mental and my emotional body, and that shows my level of commitment to my own self-inquiry, to navigating through the suffering that I experience in this life and understanding that, to better understand other individuals, to better connect with my family and move through my trauma, to better connect with my partner, like to have better relationships with people. Like I need it to move through my substance abuse, or I'm going to get swallowed up by my own suffering.
Right.
So I'm good at it because I live it. Like right. It's not like it's my whole life. It's my life. It's my foundation of my life, in addition to Christ, for sure.
Like it's not like like people say I just do it just to get through the day. It's more like pretty much as like tattooed on your lifestyle, pretty much.
It's what I study. I believe it's an incredible tool, and I use it for myself, and my commitment, my discipline with the practice is what makes me really good at it. But it's my own self-love that I've cultivated to use it at that level, where I've unveiled so much of myself through this practice, that you can see how well I love myself through it. And that's what makes me really good at it.
Right. So how do you like balance like with your cause I know not yoga is always physical for you. Like how do you balance like the weight training through like so many like healthy stress relievers? Like how can you tell which one to go to when basically personal life for you, not just off students, but what are like your go-tos like for the healthy stress relievers to help? Because sometimes you may not feel like working out. And I know usually you always start with breath work, but what's like some healthy stress relievers that you go to other than food, sugar?
Other food. Actually, this is a really good question, because when I started 75 Hard, I was kind of meditating, and in my meditation, I had to ask myself, what are your sources of pleasure? And my 3 sources of pleasure don't have a lot of light in them or life. And so I was kind of like, I need to begin to cultivate a greater relationship with really life and light-giving sources of pleasure.
Right.
So I'm still honestly finding that I have my daily practices. They're not always pleasurable. Weight training, they're things that I do kind of from discipline to settle myself and to study. sometimes pranayama can be extremely pleasurable. When I like sink into my breath, it feels like ecstasy at times, but it doesn't always feel like that. So I'd say pranayama is definitely a pleasure center for me. But I'm still learning,
figuring that out,
and still learning that. Sometimes my weight training is extremely disciplined, and so is my practice is disciplined. But the ways that I know like what I really need is by listening to my body. My body is super, super tight from all this weight training. I probably do not need the gym right now. The more love-based response to myself would be to like thwart my discipline towards something that's going to give my body more spaciousness. And that's when I go to my asana practice. When you're dealing with someone who's extremely disciplined like myself, I actually need to break my discipline to give myself more space just to be. Because I'm so disciplined. Like, you need to just give yourself some time to relax or to not go to the gym.
You be feeling like so stiff, okay? Because everything's just routine.
Yeah.
It's like, for example, like somebody would ask you, like, how you able to keep up with all this stuff? It's more like you've been doing it so long. It's like, it's just like going to the restroom, I would call it.
For
like
sure.
Your lifestyle. That's the best way I explain it to you. Just like going to the restroom. I don't think about it, it just happens.
Yeah. Pleasure for me, and one thing that I do know, knowing that, I just moved here from Seattle, Washington, and for me, I love, love, love being in nature. I was an avid hiker in Seattle. Seattle has Mount Rainier. It has, lakes, rivers, everything. The Pacific Northwest, so the Pacific Ocean is right there, and so I love being in nature, and that's kind of the downside of living in Houston, because I'm like, where can I go to paddleboard? Where can I go to swim in a lake? Where can I go to hike?
Sure can't do it in Galveston.
No, and it's so flat here, but I do love being in nature. Like, I love camping. I love being like, not like light, I want to be completely immersed.
They have something called a getaway. I don't know if you heard of that.
Yeah, I've been to the getaway before.
Did it?
Those are nice, like the small little cabins, and they're kind of glamping cabins. But I definitely love nature. Nature is like my
your
getaway.
go-to. So another question I have for you, like, what makes you so good at speaking? Because I know you do a lot of voiceovers and seem pretty good at it. And
voiceovers, or just like for YouTube?
I guess for YouTube, and also like with your with Instagram too.
Oh, for my Instagram, just practice. I started my YouTube channel in 2016, 2014. So it's just from practice. I'm also I'm a writer by trade. Like, before I left corporate America and I was a marketing copywriter. So I'm really good with the written word.
Oh, okay.
I've always been a very strong writer, so it just makes me a good speaker, I guess, just because I'm really good with the written word, and then just practice. Practice.
Yeah, because you're good at it. I was like, listen, I was like, oh man, and then you just breaking it down. I was like, I wonder if she got certified in this or something. But
no, I've never gotten certified. People always say that when I do podcasts, they're like, you're really good at like public speaking. I was like, well, I've been doing it for a long time, and it just comes very naturally for me.
I think that comes along with being
a yoga instructor. You're teaching in front of people.
Yep.
And you got to work through all those nerves. And so I've been doing it for so long. I've worked through so much anxiety with crowds of people in front of me that I just know I know my shit.
You're right.
So it doesn't really phase me as much.
It comes like second nature to you. The more you do it, it's like putting like so many hours in it, and it's like it's more like just now recording yourself. That's a little different, but you've been doing it for so long. It's just a part of the process, I would call it.
Yeah, y'all be on the lookout for my podcast. I don't know what it's gonna be, but maybe it'll come one day.
I think you'd be pretty good at it because you're good at speaking. I don't know, you're pretty confident in what you're doing because you've been doing it so long, and I feel like usually people are the best teachers who've been through a hard time and then use yoga for a tool, and then now like helping other people. So it's like you have like personal experience rather than just saying like I'm just doing this, but you don't really have no like what I say, like connect, like best thing, like connected with somebody with it that you done been there before.
For sure.
And I feel like those are like the best teachers that have been there before, and that can help you get to where they are or even further.
Yeah.
And
we call that's one of the elements we teach within my yoga school. One of the non-performative yoga elements is called experiential teaching. Teaching. So teaching based on what the practice has offered you, as opposed to like teaching to show something off.
Right.
So we want teachers who are teaching from an experiential place, in a place of embodied learning. So you're teaching based on what the practice has revealed to you, and allowing yourself to be really vulnerable with what you're sharing. So a lot of our teachers have gone through some really traumatic things, whether it be DV, domestic violence, or navigating through body dysmorphia or things like that, and like teaching like how the yoga practice or how yoga has moved them through that. That's experiential teaching, and it brings so much more life to the practice, and it connects to the students a lot more than like going to a power yoga class and getting your sweat on and having the teacher talking about love and light, and it's not connected to who their lived experience, so it doesn't land. Right. So I definitely agree with you that the best teachers
personal experience.
Yeah, teaching from
like
personal
been through
experience.
Like somebody who done been through like multiple car accidents, and now they teach you how to drive. Or like
learn from me.
Yeah, hey, I done this before,
exactly.
you know. So and now they're a driving teacher. Like, okay, well, look like they done made it through it. So I think they know what they're talking about. They're on the other side of this.
They're gonna know. They're gonna help you out. They're gonna get you right.
So as we come to a close, what does a healthy, vibrant life mean to you? I feel like I'm gonna get a deep answer with this one.
No, pretty simple. It just is a life of liberty. Just a life of liberty.
Life of liberty. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty simple. Life of liberty.
You're just liberated from your own suffering.
Dang. That was the first time somebody gave me that type of answer. Usually they give me this like long description, but
that's my whole practice, is just to liberate myself from my own suffering.
Dang. All right, we come to a close. We got to try one of these collagens out, girl. So we got peach mango, strawberry lemonade, and unflavored.
Oof, I'm sticking to the chair. Wait, say them again.
So we have unflavored. Usually unflavored goes in like
a smoothie,
your recipe, cookies or something. This is more going to like water, peach mango, or strawberry lemonade. I knew its flavor.
I'll probably take the unflavored because I always have smoothies.
I don't think you want to try unflavored in your water.
No, in my smoothies.
Oh, your smoothies?
I have like a smoothie every day.
So no, you're going to try it. You're going to try it in your water.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Which flavor? So the good thing about this college is no like fructose in there, no sucrose in there, there's no artificial coloring. Peach mango?
Peach mango.
All right. Pass me water over here. Peach mango. Do you take collagen?
Not really.
Not really.
No.
Do you take any products?
No.
Like Motown? What?
Mm-mm.
You don't take anything?
Mm-mm.
That's interesting. Surprised you don't take collagen. But you obviously you taking care of yourself pretty good because you have good skin and like I say, sometimes stress could be the
What does it do?
So collagen helps with like skin elasticity, help with skin health, bones, and also has like vitamin C in there. So mainly it's good to like the best way I can say like collagen helps is like it slow the aging process down.
Oh, okay.
And also we lose collagen as we age. So
shake it up.
Yeah, definitely shake it. So the reason I came out with these because the flavor ones, because it's not too many. Probably shake a little bit more. It's not too many flavored collagen out there. Most people they just mix in their coffee, smoothie, whatever the case may be. But I wanted collagen to be more enjoyable for people that take on a day to day. You can drink it for lunch, have it for dinner. I see Miguel and Jesus like taking it as well. I'm sure they're gonna ask me for some before we leave. But
okay, should I?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. That's really good. I wasn't
that.
No, I wasn't.
Nobody does.
That's actually really good.
And so the reason why it's clear because it's the same color as the powder. So I took out the
artificial
stuff.
color.
Yeah, you don't need that.
Oh, it's really good.
I know, right?
Thank you. Y'all should get some.
Oh yeah. So you definitely check out on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
It's Yoga by Abiola. That's YOGABYBIOLA. So definitely head there. And if you want to learn more about my online yoga school, it's iya.well on Instagram. Iya.well.
I'm gonna definitely put everything in the show notes, more about her and her school, and also how you can find her on YouTube. Check her out. And thank you guys for tuning in.